the podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, David Hall.
Hey, just here for a bit.
All right, Greg Hectus,
Hey, everybody.
Tony Groves,
Evening, gentlemen.
Tony Rochette,
Hey, everybody.
and special guest Thomas Wagner.
Hello, hello.
Welcome. All right, thanks everybody for coming, and thanks Thomas Wagner for joining us today. You're a listener, and you asked to be on the show, and guess what? Here you are, just like that. So let's get to know you a little bit. First, let's go through our interview questions. What initially brought you to iRacing, and how did you first hear about it?
So back in 2014, actually it might have been 2013, I was just scrolling through Facebook. A few of my friends were doing it. I just jumped in one day, was like, oh, it's a $13 purchase. Why not? Let's do it. And I got addicted, and now I've spent over probably $1,000 on sim rig.
Well, that's kind of a common story. Yeah, it looks like you started 2014, so yeah, it looks like you're coming up on your 5th year.
Goes quick, very, very quick.
All right. And what's your specialty? Oval, road, dirt?
I am horrible at road. So either I'm an oval guy, or I'm a dirt over oval, or I'm a dirt road guy. I can't figure out asphalt road.
All right. Let's find out how often are you racing a week? Is it nightly, that kind of thing? And what series are you normally running?
Well, week 13 kind of screwed me to the point where I got demoted back down to a D class. So I normally run every day, trying to get on. It's either between C fixed or the national series.
All right. Now, I was looking at your stats and your oval stats overall. Winning percentage, 9%. That's pretty darn high, actually.
Rookie street stocks.
There you go.
All I gotta say. Rookie street stocks.
Yeah. All right, good. Yeah, that's where I got a majority of my wins, actually, was at the beginning when I did those street stocks as well. All right, well, very good. Let's talk about, are you part of a team or do you participate in any leagues?
Yes, I actually currently own, we're going through a name change at the moment. Relentless Racing Series, also known as Drive for Suicide Prevention Xfinity Series, part of Wagner Racing. I own it. We race every Fridays. We just finished our championship season. Just gave away $200 in cash prize to our champion.
Nice. And so what car are you racing?
I myself am going through a manufacturer change. I was racing a Toyota last season. This season I'm going to be driving a Mustang.
All right. A car then, right?
B cars.
Oh, B car. All right, cool. Tell us about your hardware. What kind of wheel and pedals do you use, and how many monitors do you have? Third-party software?
Well, third-party software, I use Crew Chief quite frequently. It's a very good program if you want telemetry better, or if you need a better spotter, because we all know the iRacing spotter sucks. I've got a pretty basic setup. I've got the T3 P8 shifter Thrustmaster with the Thrustmaster wheel. Normal setup, not too expensive. I've got a custom-made button board and only one monitor, unfortunately, but it gets me where I need to be.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need a lot of stuff to get by, and you've been around for a while and been getting by on that stuff. That's like, is that your original setup, pretty much, or?
No, I went from Thrustmaster. It was a wheel that would only go like, I don't know, halfway of a turnaround. And then I went up to a Driving Force Pro, and then here we are.
All right.
Now, the question is, you use the Crew Chief app. Do you have Phil as your spotter on there?
I do.
That is
All
our
right.
teammate Phil.
Yeah, it's our teammate Phil, yeah. Cool. All right, and then tell us your most memorable iRacing moment.
Out of 5 years, there's so many of them. I gotta say, probably when iRacing first did the Daytona 500, we went, I think, 100 laps caution free, and I ended up finishing third in that session. That was probably the most memorable thing that I can say.
All right, that's it means a lot when it's a long race like that because it's just exponentially that harder, right?
Oh yeah, like what you guys said last week in the podcast was some of these guys show up just for the Daytona 500, and you don't see them again for the whole season. So when you're finishing third in top five, it's huge because you just beat how many guys that are never going to show up again.
Right, right.
It's kind of
All
like
right,
the
very cool.
it's kind of like the road races too, when we have the Sonoma and Watkins Glen's road guys show up for one that too.
Ringers, so to speak. Yeah. All right, so tell us again about your Friday night thing. You said you just wrapped up. So what's going on in the future for that?
Well, this Sunday we're going to be having recruitment races going up every, I think, hour or so. We're going to be doing something. Uh, Name change, like I said, Relentless Racing Series from the previous name that we originally started with was Drive for Suicide Prevention Xfinity Series. The admin of that series decided to shut down what he was doing, uh, kind of strayed away from us because we were doing things the right way, listening to our membership. He wasn't doing those things, so now we're getting away from that name, and we'll be starting our season up that Friday night.
Okay, and the recruitment races Sunday nights, and so they'll be looking for the B car and Relentless Racing, right?
Yes.
All right, guys, get out there and get involved, man. Sounds like a good one. Well, thank you, Thomas Wagner, for coming on and getting to know you a little bit. Let's get into topics, but first, let's talk OBRL. We do sponsor iRacers Lounge sponsors their Monday night league race called, excuse me, the K&N car. We had a huge field of 40 drivers qualified for that national series at New Hampshire. Professional podcaster Greg Hectus got the pole, but had to start the race at the back from a penalty from last week's race at Darlington. Bud Claunch won the Hard Charger Award, gaining 30 spots. Raging Cajun Eddie Jones led the most laps with 44 and battled Greg Hectus to the end, with Hectus capturing his first win of the season in the National Series. Raging Cajun finished second, Josh Mayhew third, Chris Monroe fourth. Tony Groves 28th, started 28th, finished 24th. Scales had a good race in the Saturday morning race, finishing 12th at Darlington. iRacers Lounge host Mike Ellis had a great race in the Go Creative TV Truck Series, starting 21st and finishing 8th in another huge field of 40 at Darlington, beating Greg, who finished 10th. Well, Greg, you got the win. It didn't take you long. That was your third start with them?
Yes, yeah, because I do the ARCA and the Truck Series races.
And you felt like you had given one up at one point, right? And so it was nice to get that redemption.
Well, the Talladega race at the Truck Series the week before didn't go so good. I was in the big one and 10 laps in, but I gave away the ARCA race the following week by not qualifying properly, and I almost thought I gave away this race too by not having that end of the longest line penalty to start the race. But we was able to get track position and got back up there, and I felt bad because once again, I'm going to probably have an EOL penalty at the next race because I did cause another accident in that race by accidentally running into somebody.
I see. And then Tony Groves, not a great event for you.
No, not at all. Actually, I got into a mess early on in the race again, and second week in a row where I was just kind of riding around, just trying to finish the race. So, I don't know. On to next week, I guess.
And I think Tony was tired of hearing me say that I needed to take it easy in that race because I kept saying it and I never did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I even pointed that out to you at one point.
Yeah, it's good that I'm really enjoying actually racing with. I mean, Tony, I don't get to race with you much, so it's nice to actually have chance to race with you guys that aren't in there. And Ellis, we don't really race that much, and we got to race the truck series last night together.
Yeah, that was fun. I had a good time with that event. I felt like I was competitive with the group, and I would get to the top 10 and pretty much stay there. I had a bad, there was a bad luck of when the caution came out. It came out in the middle, right after I stopped on a green flag stop, so I really got screwed on that. But if it wasn't for that, I'd have a better run, I'm sure.
Well, I think next week in the ARCA series we're at Charlotte, and I think I'm going to try my hand at a bit of a different strategy for next week. So, that way I'm going to hopefully be available at the end to get a little closer to the front of the field.
All right. Well, that's fun. Go check out obrl.net if you guys want to get involved. Let's move into topics. David Hall, you're up first.
Rallycross, time attack on road courses. They've added some road courses for Rallycross. They're interested in them because it's tracks that they don't usually get to run on. It's featuring tracks like the Figure 8 North Course at Orion Park, Patriot Course at VIR. There's the reverse oval at Scuba. I don't know if that's the oval that you saw or not, Mike, but there apparently is a reverse oval there. I haven't played around with that track yet. It looks like there's a short part of Daytona listed as well. A lot of interesting tracks. So running the Rallycross cars out on some short road tracks.
Yeah, it looks like fun. They really mixed it up with a Rallycross car on a road course, and specifically tight road courses. The oval thing, I'm gonna have to check that out because, yeah, at the Tsukuba, is that how you say it? The Tsukuba track, I was complaining because I was examining that track very closely the other day, and they have a nice little half-mile, maybe quarter-mile oval right in the middle of that track, and it looks awesome. I'd love to run like a midget car or something on that, but there's no way to get to it, and there's no configuration where you can actually run it that I can see from the testing. Now, maybe, like you said, we can get to it from time attack or time trial. I'll have to try that.
It does look interesting. And since I'm about to have to leave, I just wanted to toss in a final thought, actually, because I do have to take off. Greg and I are looking forward to this weekend. We're gonna join in the GT Road to Pro series and run at Road Atlanta. I've been running a lot of IMSA races there, and I'm struggling at that track to find speed, but I've at least found consistency.
Right. All right, and then another part about the time trial or time attack. One question came up: what is the deal with time trial rating? Why? And some people are saying, just ignore that because it really is a calculation based on the last 8 official time trials that you've run, and nobody does it. So having a good rating in time trials really means nothing. Why would you want to do the Rallycross on time attack? Well, why not? It's just for fun.
So I think that time trial thing was something they were trying, like, it's been around since day one, but it was something that they had plans with and it never went anywhere, and now it is what it is, right?
Right. All right, next topic, Greg, Ford.
So we saw the video come out about Vaughn Griffin Jr. and Joey Logano drifting around Charlotte there. And obviously it's not what the Cup car looks like, but not all of what the Cup car has on it is what's going to be in the season next year. But it's just a good video to watch the new Mustang go around, and it looks like Tyler Hudson posted or said that he'd love it, can't wait. They would need to get that Ford, and looks like they're talking about the F-150 as well for it, but. It looks, I don't know, we saw this video a while ago, but it's a really nicely done video for the art style for drifting if you're into it.
Well, it's interesting to see the real Mustang next to a NASCAR Mustang and what the difference.
Yeah, I think, from what it looks like, it looks pretty close to what the car is, so
It does, yeah.
I think it's going to be a nice addition when they finally scan it too.
And I think, Joey Logano has got some impressive drifting skills, it looks like, too. I'm kind of impressed.
I mean, there's a reason they're professional race car drivers. They're not just, they're multitask or talented at all kinds of things. I mean, you probably put him up against those guys in a professional thing. Yeah, it's probably, he's not going to compete, but when they're doing takes like that, I'm sure he can do it no problem.
Right. So when do we get this car in iRacing?
Because the way that they put all that detail into the Camaro, I'm thinking it's going to take, I would say we get it in a June build? We have like the second one of the year.
Yeah, if you look at the Camaro, I mean, that's kind of how that went. They had to wait until the team was ready to let us scan it.
I think Ford is probably going to be a little bit easier to do it than Chevy was willing to do it.
See, here's my question about that, and I'm just going to throw this in here. Tyler Hudson says something about the F-150, and you're saying that Ford is going to be easy and let them scan it. Why haven't they let them scan the F-150? F-150 has been in the Truck Series for how many years? And we're still without it.
Or something. But you're right. That's a different kind of side conversation that this thread went to. But the reason is they've never had a team actually offer to scan it. And if you know, in the Truck Series right now, I mean, Brad Keselowski was doing Fords. They just folded shop. I think there's one team left that might be running a Ford. I think actually it was Jay Sauter's team is moving to Ford. So there's a new potential there that maybe we can get them to let us scan it. But it has to do with that.
Who was it that they scanned the Camaro? Was it RCR?
Yeah.
So it's probably like it's not a very big pool of trucks to try and scan from. So maybe that's one of the things that's holding them back.
Well, that's the thing. Ford doesn't officially support the trucks at all, and so if you're running a Ford, you don't have factory support in the trucks.
Which is really odd because that Ford F-150 is Ford's staple. Like that truck is I'm not sure if this is still fact, but I think it is still is the top selling truck in North America.
Yep. All right, I got the big story. Porsche Sim Racing Summit. We talked about this a little bit last week, where there was a 2 or 3 week contest of the fastest drivers in the Porsche car. They got to go to Europe and compete over this last weekend, and they had a €30,000 prize. Well, they showed some, obviously on Twitter and social media, they showed like the trophies, which are pretty nice. The trophies were. They actually got track time. They put them all in Porsche cars and put them out on a road course and turned them loose, and they got to run some laps, and it looked pretty cool seeing the videos. Kevin Bobbitt from iRacing was riding shotgun with Enzo Bonito. And there was a picture of the podium finish as well as the stage where they did the competition. I mean, it looked like a proper, nice, esports setup. And then we figured out at the end of I think it was late Saturday, the real reason that they brought these people together at the Porsche factory for this. And the reason is Porsche will now replace the World Championship Grand Prix Series in 2019 as the top road series on iRacing. All of the competitors, 20, who already have qualified for that Formula One Grand Prix Series, will be invited to this Porsche World Cup Series. The remaining 20 spots, it could be more if some invited road F1 drivers decline, will qualify from a Pro Series that we will start in early January, running the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. The Pro Series will essentially be open to anyone who has an A road license. And the prize, $100,000 prize pool. 100 grand. What's your initial reaction when you heard that Saturday?
When I saw you post that, when we saw that, it's nuts, right? To think that, we've been playing around with 10,000 and 5,000 and 3,000 awards for, that 10,000 award for the Peak Series has been around for like 6 or 7 years, and we'll get to the other one afterwards. But to have a series that puts that kind of money into it now, it'll be interesting to see if they're putting the money in, what's the actual other part that's going to go with it, like television wise and all that kind of stuff, or streaming wise.
Yeah, they did announce it'd be streamed at iRacing Live. And the whole idea, let's back up to the summit. The whole idea of the summit was so they could have 30, sim race, some of the best sim racers in the room when they made the announcement. It gave them a reason to kind of bring iRacing together with all these people and have a stage and fireworks and all that. I think Porsche hit it out of the park in how they implemented this announcement. I mean, kudos to Porsche, and kudos to Porsche for putting up the money.
Well, the other interesting thing is Porsche's had I think it's in the last year and a bit here. That it's not, I don't know for a fact here, but I remember there was like a 10-year contract that Porsche was under, where only one company had the license to use the Porsche name in anything video game related wise, and then anything else, like if you looked at any other games they had to call them RUFs, the Ruffs brand. You couldn't have a Porsche brand in a video game up until now. And it looks like Porsche is investing in themselves this time for doing all this, instead of letting their contractable name out somewhere else.
Yeah, I remember when the RUF came out, RUF car, and it's a Porsche, but it had to be licensed as a different kind of car because Porsche's name was licensed to somebody else, like you said.
I think it's Need for Speed, so it's EA. EA owned the rights for like 10 years on it.
Yeah, and obviously that's over. Porsche is now in bed with iRacing big time. Now, to finish up the summit, Mitchell de Jong won, David Williams second, Josh Rogers third. Congrats to those guys. But wow, I mean, Porsche really knocked it out of the park. Now, a side story to this is the forums blew up, guys, from all the heavy road course guys who are like, oh my God, we don't have an open wheel championship now. And you just added feeder cars like the F3 and the F2.5, as a feeder to the F1 series. And now we abandon that as basically our world championship. And a lot of the guys are like, wow, because of that. Now they're in a proper car, a Porsche.
I'm sorry, but did they not see it coming when the F1 Codemaster game took what they did with F1 and have their own esports series now with all the teams? That should have been it right there. That it's taken right there. Like that's what's taken it from them. It's F1 doesn't seem to want to invest in iRacing. That's not where they want to go. I guess they went with Codemaster, their official game. Like iRacing needs a big backing, and Porsche stepped up.
Okay.
The way I think about this is a big move for all of sim racing, because this isn't just penny money anymore. This is
right.
good money.
Somebody can make a living.
Good amount of money doing this. Like Ray Alfala, say he wins, how many years down the road? It's a lot of money he's getting.
Well, $100K a year is, that's a job. If you can do it.
Yeah, we'll talk about how that's split up here in a minute. One more side note to the world of the road side. The Pro Series, the Road to Pro for that has been announced. It'll start early January. It's going to be basically Porsches on road courses every 2 hours, open setup 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for however many weeks, I think 9. And the best in points, the top 20 in points, get it. And so there already is a lot of protest in the forums about that because, people want to do it much like the NIS where there's just a few select starts, 3 or 4 starts a week, maybe, or 1 or 2, because it opens up the possibility of teams getting together and, doing a high strength of field split maybe in the middle of the night and then letting somebody win, that kind of thing. And because there's a lot of money at stake, there are a lot of people are like, oh, wait, we can't do this every 2 hours. And it doesn't look like iRacing's budging from that, but that is some controversy that's going on.
It almost seems like that was a last minute thought that they put together and didn't really, they were just trying to come up with a way to get it done quickly, right? And they just didn't think of what might be some of the consequences to it.
And their reasoning was they want everybody to be able to participate, regardless of schedule. If you have the license, you can run for it, But the truth is, you got to have the I rating to really run for it. Because you got to be top split. I mean, you got to get those kind of top split points to be able to make it in the top 20 in this 9-week series.
I think what you're going to see is, you're going to see the guy, you're right, there's something's going to happen like that, and, maybe something's going to have to be revamped afterwards once, if they only get a couple participations after something happens there, or they start seeing, certain rooms go up like that, it could be a big issue, and you don't want that Porsche might not even want that.
Yeah, and again, I can't say how much Porsche did such a great job about marketing for this. The summit, to bring everybody together, to have a stage, to have a place to, discuss the 100,000 and all that. It was just perfect. But let's get into the next part. So that was Saturday night. Monday morning, we hear, guess what? Prize money going up to $100,000 for the East NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series Oval. So they went from 10 grand to 100 grand.
And they did it with a nice announcement on the video too.
Yes. And holy cow, I mean, where does this money come from? Because Porsche stepped up? Did iRacing go over to Peak and NASCAR and say, look, can you guys step up and match it? And was it Peak, or was it NASCAR, or was it iRacing? I don't know.
Well, and what was it? Was it last week or the week before that when we were announcing that one thing with Porsche that Tyler said that there was some announcement coming, we just had to wait?
That was with the NASCAR Heat 3.
Oh, yes, that's what it was. Yeah, sorry.
So, yeah,
thanks, Tony.
This is a heck of an announcement for sure. I mean, they just upped it by 10 times. Basically, they're saying, like, Peak Antifreeze is here and we're serious.
It sounds like Peak paid it. They stepped up for it.
And that's a lot of money for, like, I mean, Peak's a big company, but it's not. It doesn't put that kind of money into. I don't know what their sponsorship is in NASCAR, because I think the Clint Boyer is the only one that has. It's like Tony Stewart Racing has Peak, don't they?
Right. And that's just partial.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, obviously it's going to be more than 100 grand to put their name on that car, but that's a big chunk of change for to getting this exposure out there.
Well, their budget went from 10K to 100K for this project.
Well, and they've sponsored. It's been Peak for, I'm trying to think. It's 7 or 8 years now, and so they've paid out at least $80,000, $90,000.
Yeah, unbelievable. And so, after the big surprise with the roadside, we get an oval side matching it, and then they say, now other details I'll bring out here. We will likely pay out top 3 for every race like we do with the World of Outlaws at the end of the season, and also pay much deeper into the field for the overall championship. The placeholder for first place right now is at 40,000. So even though it's 100,000, the winner doesn't get 100,000. He gets 40,000, and then everybody else gets a chunk too. And so they actually did a breakdown of what the total prize package is worth. It's $104,000. $4,000 is iRacing credits, and the rest of it is money, actual money. I saw a better breakdown somewhere. Let me find it.
So just for competing, you can get $100.
Yeah, and then here it is. So everybody gets $100, right? And then they pay down to 25th place. So first place 40 grand, second gets 12,000, third 6,000, fourth 3,000, and then on down.
But I see a spot in here as well, like it says total race winnings, so they're paying the winners of each race.
I don't know exactly how that works, but
So it's $16,200 for total race winnings. So it's probably got, how many races are in the schedule this year?
and then it says 84,000 paid out at championship. So they have some money going for race wins, it sounds like, and then a bunch of it for at the end of the season.
This is gonna make those races like come down to the end more and more intense now too, right? Like it's there's something intangible to race for every time now.
Yeah.
Maybe this is, I was thinking about this when I saw this. Maybe this is why they're taking, one of the things they're taking so much time on to make sure that tire model's right, so that things guys can do tire strategies and things like this to make these races interesting near the end.
And you wonder if NASCAR ponied up some money too. I mean, it's possible. I mean, they hired the series director. Remember, we have a new guy running the series, who actually works for NASCAR, and they promoted it heavily this week on NASCAR.com. It was on the front page. They did Twitter and all that, Facebook. Peak came out with a quote from Peak Antifreeze. They say, "We have a storied history in motorsports, and over the past 5 years, as title sponsor, we have authentically engaged and connected with racing enthusiasts competing at the highest level of sim racing. This is a great way to build upon our official global antifreeze partnership with NASCAR and our entitlement of the Peak Mexico NASCAR Series."
Now, the other thing is here, I was reading what Tony, you put this down. The partner gets to weigh in the way the winnings are split. Does this leave it open?
Right?
Does it leave it open that they could start sponsoring these races then too, and then prize money could be put in that way too?
That would be cool, man. If you get more sponsors, the more money, right? So also the schedule was released. It's 18 different weeks. It starts February 12th and regular season finishes August 20th. And then they have the playoffs, 4 rounds between August and October.
So there's a potential there. If there's $16,000 in prize money at 18, you could, if you win a race, you could win, $6,000 to $1,000 depending on how they want to split it out.
Right. Yeah, and then there was a nice video put out by NASCAR on Twitter of the announcement where they showed, like Ryan Michaeluza out going around the track, and then Ray Alfala doing donuts, and then in 2019, 40 drivers going for $100 grand, and it looks pretty cool. Starts February 12th, the Peak Series. Then, okay, so that was Monday, and then as of today, or was it yesterday, iRacing announced that the additional championships have all been moved to $25,000 each. Okay, so we got the Rallycross, $25,000, World of Outlaw Late Model, $25,000, World of Outlaw Sprint Car, $25,000, and VRS GT World Championship, $25,000. Another $100,000 for the remaining 4 championships.
Like, what's all of a sudden? There's obviously something either iRacing did, or did Porsche's thing jump this whole thing here and make it happen? Because it just seems like it's all come at once.
It's amazing that iRacing pulled this off all at once, yes. And where is the money coming from? That's what I want to know. Especially like World Rallycross. There's no sponsor in Rallycross at all. There's no sanctioning body, nothing. You think John Henry's writing a check, maybe? I don't know.
Well, and there's stuff we got to talk about that later too. But that's tie into that later. But I'm thinking I got a theory on that as well with John Henry.
Well, we know World of Outlaw. They were coughing up the money for that. VRS is sponsoring the GT World Championship. I doubt VRS is ponying up $25,000. I would seriously doubt that. And then the Rallycross. I mean, who knows where that money's coming from? But it's amazing. Think about it, guys. $300,000 in prize money has been announced for 2019. I think esports is here. Does this mean esports is here because there's money?
Well, and it's good money. It's not even like, it's not like they just increased it by like 50% or 100%. They've gone tenfold.
500% is the increase on the Peak Series.
Yeah, I mean, I without a doubt, this is iRacing saying yes, esports is here, and this is where you want to do it, right?
Yeah, and kudos iRacing. Whoever pulled all this off at the same time and actually got all the money together at the same time, and the way the announcements came off of each other. I mean, it was just brilliant.
Well, this could also lead to a lot of openings in the future, like revenue-wise, advertising and stuff like that. I mean, if they're ponying up this kind of dough, they're gonna start. These announcements are gonna make waves. People are gonna see it, hear it, and one more step to becoming even bigger.
Well, and to say what you're saying there, Tony, is Porsche's going to put 100 grand into this. They're going to want to advertise that, so that's going to bring, that's got to bring something to it because they want to bring back some revenue for that 100 grand, right?
Yeah, eyeballs on the product, so they got to broadcast it, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It's very cool to be in iRacing right now and see this happening, and see it really morph into esport. I mean, we've been talking about it for a couple of years now, and it's just like, one struggle after another, but it's really about money. And when it comes down to it, money drives this sport, and the sim side of the sport is no different than the real side of motorsport.
And we go back a week or 2 weeks here. We were kind of worried that they were putting their money into, heat, and then the other road sides putting their money into the video game sides on like the consoles. And now you look at this and it's like, okay, it is here.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very pleased. All right, let's keep moving. Tony, you got the next one. Gross.
Okay, well, let's continue on things of what's here, and I believe it was this week that with the new patch, the Indy Pit Crew is now available. I was only able to check out the video for this.
3, 2, 1.
But yeah, it looks pretty cool. It looks like the Indy Pit stop. They're all working together, doing what they do. Have you guys checked this out at all in sim?
Yep, I tried it, and I actually put a video on our Facebook chat of it because I tried it at Martinsville, and the guy's ankles were at the pavement, like his feet were sunk into the pavement, and then the hoses were sunk into the pavement. It looked like quicksand.
Well, that's a new track, is it not? Maybe the concrete just hasn't set, and you got on there a little early.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know, but the truth is, when you're in the car, you don't see that. But when you're out of the car, you do see that. And so when I was in the car, it looks perfect. I mean, it really is immersion to the tilt. But when you're out of the car, it kind of looks a little wonky. I don't know if they still have some more work to do on it, but yeah, it looked good.
There'll be different iterations on it, and they'll fix it up. I'm sure it's been pointed out.
Right. All right, Greg, you have the next one.
So I was reading through this earlier, and bear with me here, Mike. So the title of this we're calling it iRacing website hack. So it's a hack for the website to get hosting with weather and time and day. iRacing limits that to the beta UI. Now I was trying to read up on this because I haven't hosted any of the races or anything So everything's done through the UI. Mike, you've seen this a little bit more. I don't understand it completely. Is there an actual way to go around that?
Well, when they released this last big release, the weather or time of day thing when you're setting up a hosted or league can only be set up through the beta UI. They finally have put something unique in the beta UI that you cannot do on the website. And I think it's to force people to use the beta UI. And it pretty much backfires because everyone doesn't like the beta UI, at least 79% by a recent poll. And so Ryan Hellier, who we've seen his work before, has created a, well, it's not really a hack, it's a Chrome extension. And so you install this Chrome extension that he's built, and it will allow you to set up the weather and time of day when you set up hosting on the website with his little thing he wrote. And so it's his way of revolting against the beta UI.
Well, and I don't know, I think you were away from the headset last night when we had this discussion, and someone asked about in the truck race last night we were in if they were using the dynamic sky and everything like that for the truck race, and one of the guys said no because they didn't want to try anything with the league stuff right off the bat here until they fix it because they didn't want to work with the beta UI. So that was another, a league is choosing not to use the beta UI as well.
Yeah, but if you recall, this guy, he made a Chrome extension a long time ago that I've talked about before, that where you could hit like register for a race, and then it would make a little check mark that would auto join the race. So you wouldn't have to click join when it came to the top of the hour, it would join for you. So that way you could walk away from the computer, go get a drink, whatever. It would automatically join you at the top of the hour. So little stuff like that he's done before. We talked about one about 3 weeks ago, I think, where he made that made the stats more robust when you went to the stats page. And I think Mason actually tried that and said it was working.
Well, and was this what you were talking about in the chat yesterday when I asked about registering when it wasn't at home?
Well, no, that's a little different. That's remote control of your own computer.
Oh, okay.
I use remote Chrome desktop for that. But it's also a Chrome extension thing. All right, let's keep moving. I got the next one. Clouds are messed up with if you're using NVIDIA 3D. And so I don't know a lot about NVIDIA 3D, but some people do use it. And there's a bug where the cloud, like when you look out your left eye in VR, you see the cloud in one spot. And then when you look out the right eye, the cloud is in a different spot. And so it kind of messes you up because you're seeing the same thing in two different places. It has something to do with this NVIDIA 3D. Now, people apparently run NVIDIA 3D, and they have like 3D glasses, and they race like this. And so this is kind of a new, I haven't really heard about this before much, and so I did do some reading about it, but Sean Nash from iRacing is aware of the issue. He's trying to fix it, basically.
That Jacob Klein posted a picture of the 3D thing. That's hard to look at.
Yeah, and if you put on your 3D glasses, though, it'll look great.
See, I'm confused. I don't know about you guys, but I've never heard of NVIDIA 3D before now.
Yeah, it was news for me, too. But apparently we have iRacers doing it. We have a 3-page thread about it where people are having problems with the clouds, apparently.
I think personally, once iRacing figures out fully what if we give them enough feedback on this whole dynamic weather thing, they'll iron out most of the problems. It's just like any other update.
Yeah. And you know, so far it's been really smooth, the day-night thing, I think, for the most part. All right, Tony Groves next.
Yeah, next up we got a it's a tweet from YouTuber Jimmy Broadbent. He was pretty pleased with himself. He was racing an F1, and the caption is, "I passed Max Verstappen," and then in quotations, "and murdered Lando Norris." Actually, check this video out. It was pretty good. He's a pretty entertaining cat. That guy. He was very much outclassed in that race. It was a pretty small field. I think there's only about 9 of them racing, and I didn't catch what track they were racing at, but
Montreal, I think.
is that where it was? Okay.
Yeah, it's Montreal.
And he got real excited that he was able to pass Verstappen. Now is because Verstappen spun out. But hey, a pass is a pass, and I'd be just as excited. Same with murdering Lando. I was watching it. He did smack him broadside, but it would have been pretty hard for him to spin out. But it was an interesting watch nonetheless, and pretty entertaining as well.
Yeah, and this guy is a real YouTuber. He's got, on this video, 190,000 views so far. I mean, we're talking big exposure here.
Well, he's also, I don't know if you guys know, Jimmy is also the announcer for the F1 esports series. He's the main announcer for it.
I see. Yeah, and so the guys he's racing with is a team. I think it's called Coanda Simsport. And all these guys are on the same team. And they're really the best Formula One sim racers in the world, really, are on that team. And it was kind of fun to watch him race those guys. And he's kind of the commoner trying to keep up, so to speak. And it was very interesting. And it wasn't actually a race. It was a practice, and they were just kind of running together. But every couple minutes or so, they would actually slow down like there was a safety car so everybody could catch up, and then they would go again.
Well, yeah, I was wondering kind of what was going on there. I missed that because all of a sudden, everybody slowed down, and he's like, well, I think this is my chance, and he just went past everybody. And it's like, yeah, I'm in first, and it was good for a laugh, anyways.
I was entertained. I actually watched the whole thing. I thought it was very entertaining, and we'll have more on Lando Norris later. All right, let's keep moving. Greg.
Tim Ryan, World of Outlaws sprint car champion, tweeted a picture. I guess his prize winnings have shown up to his house. So he's got a nice picture. It looks like he's in his kitchen here on his Twitter page. It says, cool shipment from World of Outlaws today. Thanks, Craftsman, MPI, for the sweet product. Donnie Sean's lookout. I'm only 9 championships behind. So the trophy looks really nice there that he's got, and it looks like he's got a wheel and a tool set. So congratulations to Tim on his winning, and let's see if he can keep it up.
Yeah, nice looking hardware you got there. All right, I'll take this next one. Okay, John Henry, who is the co-founder of iRacing. He also is partial owner of Roush Fenway Racing. He also owns the Boston Red Sox. He also owns a football team over in the UK. And he's a billionaire. Anyway, apparently it's rumored that John Henry is now interested in buying a minority stake of NASCAR. So how does this tie into iRacing? Well, he's the iRacing founder. So what do you guys think? Is this a good move for John Henry?
It might not be such a good move for John Henry, but it's a good move in the way of trying to better iRacing. Because if you have stake in NASCAR, you have a very good wiggle room that you can do things. You can try to work things out. You can try to do things that includes more of the NASCAR name, just not the Monster Energy Series, the Xfinity Series, Truck Series. That goes down to the ARCA sanctions. That goes down into home tracks. That goes down into many things.
IMSA now
limited.
Yeah.
Now the question is, if he becomes a stakeholder in NASCAR, takes a portion of it, does that mean he would have to give up his portion of Roush? Like, can you own and be part of a company like that?
I don't know. Good point. I don't see why not, but we have a lot of the cross-pollination already amongst the owners that going over to TV and stuff like that.
Well, I was gonna say,
I
just
don't-
he's a minority stake. I mean, I think it'd be a bigger deal if he had the
His
majority. Yeah.
And if he's minority, who's the majority?
Well, if he
I
becomes,
think you could.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think the two largest track owners in the industry are heavily involved in NASCAR. Maybe I don't have that right, but isn't SMI and the other one, like
ISC.
ISC, like basically own NASCAR?
Yeah, I mean
In a
ISC
sense.
is owned by NASCAR. SMI is not. SMI is a
So,
public traded company.
so anybody that doesn't have a racetrack that's in those two companies, like Pocono, for example, you're on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it's just Pocono and Dover and Indy are really the holdouts. For example, it was announced that Nashville Speedway is potentially looking at getting a NASCAR date. The only way it's working out is SMI is getting involved in probably buying the track.
I'll say this, and I've said this in multiple other places. It is a great thing when companies come in and buy tracks. Because you're giving these small towns and these big towns, Nashville's kind of a big town, the chance to get back to its roots, get back to the track's roots, gets back to what this city is, how the city was 10, 20 years ago. Another thing up by me, Nazareth Speedway, that thing's sitting in just trees and debris and everything, rotting away. This is a track that in 2004, they ran IndyCar, they ran NASCAR, they ran all that stuff. Why are we letting these tracks sit while companies could be making money with these tracks, and also the towns could be making money with these tracks?
Well,
Why aren't we doing this?
the biggest issue there is, those two companies own majority of the tracks. They have to own it and give up one of the dates of their other tracks to do it
Yeah.
until they figure out this whole track thing. Was it 2022, 2020? When's that
Next
whole?
year, yeah,
Is it next
2020.
year?
I think NASCAR was better before all the tracks were owned by two companies, personally.
Right.
But even these tracks that these companies are buying, why don't you give them to like the Truck Series or the Xfinity Series and take some of these tracks out that are run 2 times a season? Why are you going to go back to tracks that you have already mastered, have already, ran something, an amazing race? Why are you going to go back to it and say like, oh, yeah, it was a great race, let's see if we can do it again?
They're going that direction.
It doesn't make sense to me that you're going to 2 tracks
Back on
at the
topic,
same
though,
time.
it would seem that if iRacing had a major stake in NASCAR, that NASCAR would have a tighter relationship, and they could use iRacing as a test bed, which is something I actually put in the Gen 6A topic forum that blew up.
Right.
Well, it'd be interesting to see what would happen if he did have it, like you're saying there, because if NASCAR, he gets to have talk about it, and he gets to say, well, let's try this here. We could get things maybe things could get pushed along a lot quicker than what they are, now. Like, if he owns Roush Fenway, that the next Mustang that should be scanned should be a Fenway Mustang. Do you not?
You'd hope so.
You'd think that he would be the one that would just fork that car up right away.
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is if he owns a stake in NASCAR, then iRacing could be used with the core fan base, which it is. Like, we're all avid NASCAR fans, right? Why wouldn't you use iRacing to test a format out in the 12-week off season?
Right.
Like, why wouldn't you run both cars at the same time, throw it on TV, and see what people think?
Yeah, let's put plates on them and make the spoiler higher and see what happens in the sim before we do it in real life.
Exactly.
Now, on that topic, do you think that they could have an esports off season to the NASCAR that would still pique people's interest? Like, if they finish the season up and then they have the esports part in the off season when NASCAR's not on, or do you have to run it, if you really want to have people watch it, run it parallel to an actual racing weekends?
You could do it either way, I think. Make cases either way.
I think if if we gave a season or something to an esports group like iRacing, NASCAR Heat, whatever, and they were to televise it, I think it would do better in the off season because you have guys that are looking for something to watch on, say, like a Sunday night or a Saturday night or whatever, that like racing and want to see something close to what they're normally watching. I think it would be a good move if we
Right.
did that.
Well, I hope John Henry does it. I can't see any downside for iRacing. We're already heavily involved with NASCAR, and that would just get us more involved, I would think. So, all right, Tony, what's next?
Oh, chow down! It's Chili Bowl time. iRacing threw up a really nice video. It's a mix of real life and sim racing, showing drivers like Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson. And well, I mean that track just got released this week, I believe. Kevin Swindell put up on his Twitter some shots of him going around the track, and I personally don't know really anything about this track except for what we've been talking about over the last quite a while, and to me, I'm absolutely blown away with the look of this track. It's really hard to determine that it's actually sim.
I was
If it
just going
were,
to say that. I mean,
Yeah.
this first video, like you said, is a mix of real life shots and shots from the sim. And I swear to God, there's times when I cannot tell the difference.
Right now, you've watched the Kevin Swindell video? It's about a 22-second clip of him.
That looks real.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like if it wasn't, you can tell that the crowd's not real, but you get into spots where there's no crowd showing, and it's unbelievable. These guys did a bang up job on this.
Dirt racer in Oklahoma. That's kind of
Yeah, Kevin Swindell is a 4-time Chili Bowl national champion, okay? There's nobody better at Chili Bowl than him. And, boy, he was on the track right after it released. Pretty cool, yeah. I haven't bought it yet. I was so tempted last night, but I didn't.
Yeah, it'll be a while before I buy it. I gotta get my legs into dirt a little better, but I'll be looking forward to it when I get there.
Okay. Next up, I got this one, schedules. 2019 Road to Pro for Oval. We have a schedule out, starts March 19th at Texas, goes to October 1st at Homestead. And it's like an every 2-week kind of schedule. It's called the NASCAR Road to Pro Series. And I do believe that'll be the trucks like it was last year. So it starts a little later. It doesn't start in February. It starts March 19th. We also got an update about, what was this one? An announcement. Tyler Hudson said, attention NASCAR Pro Series drivers, due to some developing circumstances regarding the Peak Series and the recent announcements, we are reducing the season from 8 down to 7. We're going to conclude on January 23rd, 2019. Because of the scheduling of the Peak Series, they need to make it 1 week shorter. And then they talked about the Porsche Pro Qualifying Series. And that's going to start in January and run 9 weeks. It's going to be every 2 hours like we talked about. They announced the tracks as well. And then, as we already discussed, a lot of people didn't like the format of the every 2 hours. That forum thread is blown up to 5 pages already. But, Tyler did have an indication in one of those posts that they weren't going to change it regardless. All right, Greg, we got the Season 1, Patch 1.
So this was Wednesday that we were down for a little bit to get the Season 1 Patch 1. Bring it up here. So they were down on Wednesday, and some of the release notes. Go through some of it. iRacing beta UI interface. They fixed some background issues. They're having some slow response for the UI. Some rendering stuff was smoothened out. They talked about the distance in 3D when using the NVIDIA 3D again, so it looks like they fixed that. Dynamic sky, they fixed some of the tracks with reflective areas and stuff like that. The time of day, the clock label has changed to sim time on the replay screen. Now the big one that was on this one that we were talking about was already talked about was the pit stops with the IndyCar. It's also on the Dallara DW12, the Dallara F3, the IR18, and the IndyCar 2011 Dallara. They also changed for the GTE pit stops have been implemented a rule change. The car must now be refueled first and may only change tires once refueling is complete. This addresses both members' requests and anticipating changes in the WEC rules for 2019-2020. So that's that. There's some telemetry stuff they fixed. There was a couple patches they've made on some cars. Charlotte they did some more work on. Big announcement with the Chili Bowl track being added. So it was nice to see that they did a whole bunch of content in a patch, couple weeks into it, right?
Not a release, right?
So,
yep, they're trying to get the revenue in before the end of the year is what my guess is.
Yeah, and the other thing, so there's been some issues, I guess, since the patch. Someone you had posted, I guess, Mike. Didn't just see that now that you had an issue when you joined the Le Mans HPD, no lights. What was that about?
Yeah, so there's an interesting bug. If you join a hosted Le Mans session, you won't have headlights. But if you go test Le Mans by yourself, you do have headlights. And they're aware of it. A lot of people have talked about it. They think they know what the fix is, but it won't be fixed until like January. It has to do with it's a real big track to begin with, and then when you have 6 cars and you have everything turned on in graphics, some kind of graphics thing that they have a limit on runs out, and it somehow turns off the lights. So part of the build was they fixed the lighting at Le Mans after dark. They tweaked it. Remember a while back when it first came out, I said the dark was cool, but it was not dark enough. Well, they fixed that. And boy, it's perfect now. It's literally perfect. When you get in a car on a track at night with no lights and you look out to the side, you can't see. It is dark, okay? It's perfect. But when I went out on the track and didn't have headlights, man, is that hard. And I tell you what, this is the one thing that people are not talking about is how are our 24-hour events going to be affected by the day-night transition on tracks that don't have lights, okay? Daytona, no problem. They have lights there, okay? But Le Mans, there's no lights there, and they run at night. And I've been out at Le Mans almost daily trying to run laps at night with just the headlights. And it is hard as hell. You cannot believe how hard it is. And I know that track. And it's going to be a game changer come Le Mans in June. The people that don't practice, that don't know the track, they're going to wreck. I guarantee it.
So I don't run road at all. I stay far away from it at any chance I get. How is the HPD cars handle wise? Because I know there's certain things that you can do to make the car handle better, but I'm not sure how track dynamics would. I know this is a little off topic, but track dynamics in the dynamic weather, track's always changing. So how is that going to tie in with the 24 hours? Because you can't make certain adjustments in the car. You have to make those outside of the car. What is the dynamic tracks going to do for the 24 hours?
Well, if you're looking at if you're looking at the specific Le Mans series, like what we competed in last year, you got the Porsche and the Audi Le Mans cars or LMP1 cars. They have a lot of in-car modifications you can do to combat weather change. But usually what happens is during the day you have less grip, and then as soon as you get at night, you're going to get more grip. So you'll get tighter or have more traction or whatever for those kind of cars. You got, and then the GTE and the GT3 cars that are in that series as well, they have little things you can do traction control wise and brake bias wise. That's pretty much all you got to work with in any series, really. Like, you know, the only car, I think the only one that really has a lot of stuff that you can do it on is the F1 car. I don't know about I haven't tried out the new Formula 3 cars and 3 car or anything like that, but the F1 car has a lot of onboard dash controls you can fix for time of day changes.
I don't
And
think we know the answer, to tell you the truth, because we haven't done it.
well, and remember I talked about this in the chat too. Like if you think of the NASCAR racing series or the NIS when we do that, if they do the tracks like you know, the fixed series. So when you're in a fixed series, you can't do any changes besides brake bias and, you know, fuel and stuff like that when you're on pit road or tires. But you can't do pressure changes, you can't do wedge, nothing like that. How is that going to change the fixed series when you start off with the car feeling one way and it changes as it gets, you know, into the other part of it? Is it gonna make where in the fixed series you got to have, you know, could it make the fixed series not as popular this year because it might not run good into those? We don't know, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I can tell you though, Le Mans is going to be a game changer because there's no lights, and boy, you guys better start practicing. I am. We got to keep moving. Let's keep going here. Next up, Tony.
Yeah, so they gave the details for the Roar Before the 24 at Daytona. Looks like it's happening January 12th to 13th with 4 different time slots, starting Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, Saturday at 8 a.m., Saturday at noon, and Sunday at 9 a.m., all Eastern Standard Time. Going to need a D license with at least a 4.0 safety rating. And yeah, cars and class are going to be running the Kia Optima, the Ford Mustang FR 500 with a 90% fuel capacity. I'm not sure why they did that. I was trying to find
I know
right
the
here.
answer to that.
Okay, and as well the Global Mazda MX-5.
Now, the reason it's 90% was this is a 2.4-hour race, and the Mustang could do it on one stop if they stretch it. And so the community basically begged, hey, can we lower the fuel capacity so there's some fuel strategy here, and there's at least a couple stops because the other cars have to stop more than once.
Okay, well, yeah, that makes sense, and yeah, I see them right at the top of the where they put a poll up. I didn't read that until just now. Yeah, I guess hey, that makes sense. Now, 2.4 hours. Now, I'm a dummy towards this. I don't know anything about the Roar before. Do you still have to do that in a team setting? Because 2.5,
No, just single.
No, it's single car.
yeah, okay.
This is what they never used to have the endurance race longer. It used to be called the 24 hours or like the Rolex, and they used to do it by 2.4 hours. That's how they started for like the longest time.
Yeah, before we had 24-hour races, yeah, we had the 2.4.
Okay, well, yeah, I was wondering because like 2.4, that's not too hard to do by yourself.
That's like 50 laps in the NIS.
Right.
Now, the first year that they did that, when they did the 24 hours of Daytona, they had the Roar before, but I remember they used the same cars that we had in the 24. So we used it as a warm-up race kind of thing. And but they've changed it now. It's completely different cars, obviously. All right, I'm going to keep the next one. David Cater's final ride, as they called it. Race happened, a promotional race to gather funds for David Cater's funeral expenses. It happened on Primetime Racing TV. It was a fantastic broadcast. Teammate Mason Stiver did compete in a split with the 21 other cars. It was the Cup car at Chicago, They did a 3-wide salute at the beginning. Mason started P6 and finished P6, and had a really good time throughout the race, he said.
You know, I think this is great when the whole iRacing community comes together as a whole and really remembers somebody and acknowledges the fact that we're all human. There's somebody behind that car, that wheel, that computer, that car that's annoying you. There's somebody behind there. And the fact that we took it to this level of what we're doing for David and his family, it touches you, and it makes you really love this community and see as a whole what somebody has with that. I raced with David a few times, and it was not just a good race, it was one of the best races, because he was a very bright, very loving guy that would help you with anything, not even just iRacing. It was setup wise, as in like steering wheel components, all that stuff. He was very good with that. I unfortunately could not take part in this race. I would have loved to. I know a few people had a very good time, but it's definitely something good when the community can come out and do stuff like this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that Mason was able to represent our team and go and participate. And they got some money together to help the situation. Yeah, community came together big time on David Cater. He was so popular. Everybody out there knows who he is.
Gone but never forgotten.
Yep. All right, Greg, what's next? Another reminder of another race?
Okay, so the OP Racing presents the Mission 22 24 Hours at Charlotte. So they're just we're reminding again, it's put on by iRacing Drivers World, Alex Green. 24 hours at Charlotte Oval in the Monster Energy Cup car. It's on February 16th. So Mission 22 is a non-profit that combats, raises money for veterans for suicide prevention. So they have 30 slots and 4 per team. Entry fees $10. And if you want to go to it, go to the Mission 22 website, Facebook page. Now.
Yeah, everything is listed there on how to join.
Yeah, so good luck with this race. That's a long race at Charlotte, and I hope they get the 30 slots filled out.
Wow, 4 teams of 4, 24 hours. That's 6 hours each. Yikes. Well, no, is that right? Yeah. All right, I got the next one. Matt Malone versus Lando Norris, one of the strangest rivalries in iRacing. This Twitter post came up from iRacing earlier today, but what's interesting is I already had found this race before they Twittered it. I was on iRacing looking for something to do, and I was ghosting races because I didn't feel like I was practiced enough to actually get in a road course race yet. So I ghosted, and I do that a lot. And I just randomly picked a ghosted race, and it was like GT3s at Charlotte, Roval. And sure enough, in there was Matt Malone, a guy named Sage Karam. We've talked about him like the last 2 or 3 weeks. He used to be an IndyCar driver. He actually has a ride for this year's Indy 500, too. And also Lando Norris, the Formula One driver. And so I went in there, and they were just getting ready to start the race, so I actually went on board with Lando in his cockpit camera and just watched the beginning of the race and watched him come up through the field. And that's what he did, too. And what was interesting is his line is unique. He does not run the same line everybody else does. Like, for example, if you imagine the Roval, not turn 1, not turn 2, but 3, which is like a U-turn kind of thing, he goes really wide off into the runoff on that, and then gets a super hot launch down that little backstretch, and just stuff like that. I was like trying to pick up some tips. He eventually wrecked going through the chicane, and finished like dead last. So But it was fun to watch. I think I called it in the chat. He was an alien. But yeah, he's fast. All right, let's get into hardware software. Greg, you're up next.
So we got the GS5 motion seat soon to be released. So there's just a quick update on it. So they're in beta testing, I guess, on the last little bit of it here. We've covered this a bunch of times, haven't we?
Yeah, the price now is released.
So now they got the price. I'm looking at here, $29.99. So $3,000, and comes with a Syn Commander and SimVibe software. So anybody that I'm trying to remember what it looks like here. I'm trying to see if I can bring it up.
Yeah, so there's also a tutorial that was posted about how to add shakers.
Oh, okay, now I see what it is.
And man, this looks so cool. Richard McNaughlin put up a detailed post with pictures about how to install what's called Dayton pucks. And so what you do is you buy 4 of these little Dayton pucks. They're little transducer speaker things. And the GS5 seat has little cutouts on the little flaps that hit against your body. And you can cut the little circle out and mount the puck inside that circle. And then you hook it up to an audio amp, and then you're running sound through these little pucks that are attached to the little things that hit your back. And so those speakers are right up against your body. And so anyway, it's a real easy add-on to a GS5 seat if you want to get some more immersion. He tells you exactly what to buy and how to install it.
To me, this is just nuts. Just every time we got something, we think that, what can they do to increase these or make these seats even better. They find that some people just find an extra little bit to, get out of it. And I would love to, see what that chair feels like to race in.
Now, the seat is obviously designed with these pucks in mind because it has cutouts for them.
The pucks are from a different company though, aren't they?
Yeah, but the software to run the pucks is the same software that runs the seat. And it's the same software that would run a butt kicker if you had a butt kicker.
I just have one question about this GS5. I haven't seen it as much as maybe you guys have. Why is a product like this going for $3,000?
Well, you see, scroll down to the picture where you see the flaps, the gray flaps.
Yeah.
Those move. Those are hydraulic, and those move based on your driving. They push against you.
Makes it feel like G-forces.
Really?
Yeah, it's simulated G-force kind of thing. So
right.
if you make a hard left turn, then the right side is going to push against your back, and it feels like you're kind of being pushed to the left. You know what I mean?
All right, so take out exactly what I just said. Ignore it. It's fine. $3,000, cool. I'm good with it. Let's do it.
Well, the other reason it's $3,000 is it's really one of the only things on the market. You got these things that are, they're more priced this way because they don't have any competitors against it as well, right? There's a lot of software involved and stuff to do this, but it's supply and demand all the time, right?
Very unique. Yeah, very unique product. Yeah.
Well, and you can match this chair with the motion rigs, and you got the G-force part here on the seat, and then have a motion rig moving with it, and you can even you could have that sliding platform. You can have the shocks in the back. There's endless possibilities of seat setups you can have.
And this product is a good stopgap for people that don't want a full motion rig but just have a stationary rig and want something. This is a great add-on to add on to a stationary rig. And if I had $3,000, I'd be thinking about this a little bit, and just putting it on my stationary rig as a starting point, and then maybe go to motion later.
I was hoping he'd show a picture. I was looking here, but he never showed a picture of after putting the cover back on to see if it, if it's noticeable at all. Because they look like they might be where you're sitting there. You might have, could those be, a pressure point on your, rear end?
Yeah, the covers are really thick from what I've seen before on a previous post. I don't think you'd even notice the pucks. But definitely, if you're getting a GS5, you need to find this shaker tutorial. Search GS-5 review in the forums. All right, let's keep moving. Tony, you're next. Proto Simtech. Sold out.
Yeah. Well, for anybody that was in the market for Proto Simtech PT2 pedals, you missed it. They're all sold out.
25
apparently-
minutes.
Yeah, took 25 minutes this time around. But this is, Chris Smith posted that the work. Holy cow! He's got a fairly big announcement to make once production starts next year. So be on the lookout for that. He does say though it's not a new product or anything, so don't get your hopes up. But he'll be making another round for anybody that wants to get in on the next batch. Better be quick with the mouse buttons because 25 minutes to sell out what he had this time. It was pretty quick.
You know you're doing something good as a company when you're selling out in 25 minutes.
Yeah, $480.
You're doing something right.
Those are non-hydraulic ones, right? They're
load cell, I believe. Yeah, but they're nice load cell pedals for $480. I mean,
they look like a solid piece too. Like if you mounted just something nice, you can really. But the construction on them's really good.
I've never heard a bad thing about these. I've only heard good things. I've never, not once, one bad thing about these. So their website is protosimtech.com.
And they're in the ballpark of all other load cell price, good brake pedals or good pedal sets anyways.
All right, Greg, Fanatec, they can't release their direct drive base, but they're still trying to sell them. So tell us what you got next.
So I saw this video and it was like, so they're onto their third version of the same wheel. It's the Club Sport steering wheel V2 officially is licensed for Xbox. So it's the same one we've been reporting on the last couple of weeks here. It's just in the red version and it's, officially an Xbox one. So they've now covered, their basic gold PS4 one was PC. They got the PS4 blue one, and then now they got the red one. And I have to say, of all three, the red one probably catches your eye the most.
Yeah.
It is very vibrant. It's a very vibrant red. It still has the option to
your channel is recording.
Have the Podium Advanced paddles added to it. I don't know. Fanatec has really stepped up the game on the steering or on the wheel portion of it. I'm hoping that looks like they've righted the ship with the direct drive. And, they've solved some problems with the customers. I know David has been in a lot of contact with Fanatec about getting something from them for right now while he's waiting on his direct drive base. So I look forward to hearing from David this week about this rim because he did order this rim and will be coming this week.
He's getting the red one?
I think it was the red one that he had coming.
Yeah, they got the gold, the blue, and the red now. So
I think they're released, or they might be taking pre-order. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look on the.
Yeah, they're $350. I mean, they're a nice looking Formula One kind of style wheel with tons of buttons and they look sharp. You can go to fanatec.com for those.
I'm pretty sure it says here that they don't release till February.
So maybe it was another rim that David was talking about. I apologize if I got that wrong.
Definitely a nice rim. I do agree with you on that. Definitely nice and catches your eye.
I have, I have Fanatec stuff, and their quality is good, and their customer service, if something does go wrong, is, has worked out in the past for me. So, good on them, and they're trying to solve that problem with the base. So, 2019 could be a big year for Fanatec.
All right. Next is Heiskenveld has launched their Sim Pedal Sprint. finally launched. We have talked about this before, but product launch has happened now. You get a 3-pedal set for €6.99, or 2-pedal set €5.99. There is an optional base plate of €89. And these are load cell, much like the T2s that we just talked about, but these are Heiskenveld.
So, and this is also another company that's been building these for a while, haven't they?
Oh yeah, this company's been around a long time. They are out of Europe. Their pedals, again, second to none. I've never heard a bad complaint about them. So, boy, what would you pick? I think it depends on where you live. I mean, if you can get, the PT2s are based out of the United States. These are based out of Europe. Pricing is a little less, obviously, for the American-based company than these are. But when you look at them, I mean, they look like the same kind of thing, the same kind of product. They're very similar.
They definitely sponsor a bunch of race cars, don't they?
All right, I'm going to take this last one. RTX Titan has been announced. Okay. Now, NVIDIA has used the Titan name before. Remember, we had the 1080, the 1080 Ti, and then there was a Titan, so to speak, the 1080 Titan. Well, they're doing the same thing with the 2080 series. So we got the 2080, the 2080 Ti, and now the RTX Titan, as they call it. Guess what, guys? $2,500 for this graphics card. Yep. And one iRacer gave us a really good summary about this card. He said, so yeah, Titan RTX is what the 2080 Ti should have been, with 12 gigabyte too much VRAM and an insane price tag. Performance is still equal to that of a 2080 Ti in normal workloads, and it's questionable as to whether it'll be of any use in any deep learning or AI stuff over a Titan 5 or the Quadro cards. In other words, it's the most overpriced, nonsensical GPU released to date. Good job, NVIDIA.
Why would, like, I wouldn't put a $2,500 card in my system. I'm sorry, that's just a ridiculous. You price yourself out of any, Joe Schmo, anybody that wants to race or do any gaming or whatever they're using it for, price it right out of it. Like $2,500, you could build a really good computer and still have money left over for that.
Okay, so you can buy two 2080 Ti's, two of them, for under the price of this card. Now here's the other thing. JZ 2 Cents, who we've talked about before, has a great YouTube channel that he goes over benchmarking of these kind of cards. He got his hands on them and he did some benchmarks on several popular games and titles. And guess what? The Titan RTX, maybe 5 or 10% more performance than the 2080 Ti. Maybe 5 or 10%. So how does that 5 or 10% justify more than double the price? I have no idea.
My question is what kind of applications are out there that would warrant that type of
CAD.
card? Like,
Yeah,
there's
it'd be
something.
CAD.
Okay, so is that card gonna actually like crazy outperform in that instance over just the regular 2080?
Yeah, that was something that the guy in the video was talking about. He was going to try to learn how to measure that using other stuff besides gaming. And so that's to come. So yes, it might be good for those kind of applications because it has 24 gigabytes of onboard RAM, which you don't need that at all in any kind of gaming scenario.
Okay, so if it's in like, it's a using it for like a business, for something for CAD, you're making cutting edge things with it, and this is a cutting edge card. I can kind of justify the price tag, but obviously for a gaming thing, it's way over the top. Nothing's even touching what that card is capable of. So I can kind of see it.
So in the forums, they're already talking about who's going to be the first iRacer to buy it and try it. Somebody will do it.
But at this stage in the game, what would be the point? Because there's
there is no point. You get 5%, better performance. That's it.
Oh, okay. So you can just hold that mantle. I just spent $2,500 on a completely useless card for this game at this point in time. That's awesome.
In fact, JZ2 Cents, at one point in his video, I did watch the whole thing. He even said that during the testing, at one point during I think it was Battlefield 5 is what he was playing. The more expensive card actually performed worse than the 2080 Ti.
Why wouldn't you just save up another $500 and get that seat we were talking about?
Right.
Yeah, okay. So with that being said there, Mike, that just fully tells me that this card is designed for right now for other applications than just games.
Yeah, they didn't put it out there to gain gamers to buy it. You're right.
Okay.
It'd be it's probably companies invest in something like that for, a bigger bigger projects.
Yeah, in his final summary of the video, I mean, he was just basically like, don't buy this thing. There's no point, total waste of money. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But I'm interested to see who in iRacing is going to try it. Somebody will. There's already a forum thread where people are threatening to buy it. Pretty funny. All right, we've gone over. Let's jump right into final thoughts. Greg Hectus.
I'm just looking forward to another week here. David and I are going to race an endurance race this weekend together on Sunday, representing Team Tifosi on the endurance side. It'll be another week of next week will be the ARCA and Truck Series racing for me, so I look forward to that. I've really enjoyed racing with you, Mike, this week, and Tony. Always with Tony, and now in the ARCA series, it's fun to have. I wish Chris had made it out this week, but he had another obligation. But I just look forward to this week and moving on to Christmas here as well.
All right. Mason Stiver, you joined in. What's your final thought?
Yeah, I hopped in here. I'm sure you guys talked about it already, but the David K. Memorial Race was a blast, and I was glad to be able to participate in it. There's nice, clean racing and hard racing for sure. So that was a lot of fun. I was glad to do it.
All right, yeah, we did talk about that. Thank you for participating and representing Tifosi. We all knew David in some way, and we appreciate that you made the time to do that. Thank you. Tony Groves, final thoughts.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot, to be honest with you. I've been kind of wrapped up with my work stuff, end of year shenanigans that I got to do. Hasn't left much time for racing, but I still get to race, with the old bastards on Monday nights, with the ARCA series, which I am streaming every Monday night. Follow me at twitch.tv/Sir Groves.
Sir Groves. Okay, cool. All right, and special guest Thomas Wagner, thanks for joining us. Certainly welcome back anytime. What are your final thoughts?
I don't really have any. Just had a good time. Hope to come back soon.
Well, absolutely. We're happy to have you. Thanks for contacting us. And yeah, I mean, if you're a listener out there and you want to be on the show like Thomas, just let us know, man. We'll work with you and get you in. We're happy to have the more, the merrier. Yes, thanks for coming. All right, my final thoughts. Wow. I've been having fun doing a lot of random stuff on iRacing. I ran the SRF on Tsukuba and got a win, my first road win of the year, actually. And then I backed it up with a third place finish. And then I ran again, I think I got 8th, but I was getting a little cocky. But wow, I had fun in that car at that track. It was a lot of fun. I've been ghosting a lot of stuff. I've been trying to watch David Hall do his road racing and trying to help him along. I've been doing a lot of random stuff. I won a carburetor cup last night. So I've been having fun with off-season kind of stuff. And with that being said, the NASCAR announcement, the Porsche announcement of the $300,000. Man, that's a game changer, guys. I think iRacing is going to go to a whole nother level in 2019 as we end this 2018 year. You know, I'm certainly looking forward to that. We're going to have a special podcast next week for Christmas that we actually already pre-recorded. Please make sure to join that. We'll release that Thursday night when we normally do. And then the following week, we'll be back on our normal schedule. So with that, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And we'll see you on the track later.
User in your channel
All right,
stopped
clear.
recording.
Title ideas.